Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. Here are your hosts, Jeffrey Tobias Halter and Amanda Hammett.
Good afternoon. Today, we're focusing on the intersection of age and gender in the workplace. I'm Jeffrey Tobias Halter, and today I'm enjoying a nice Italian Pinot Grigio. And it's always my pleasure to welcome my co-host, Amanda Hammett. Amanda, what's your beverage of choice today?
Well, Jeffrey, I am drinking my usual favorite, as my husband refers to it, my bougie favorite, my raspberry hibiscus kombucha. So that is not all we're here to talk about today. It is my honor to welcome and introduce Bonnie Marcus for part 2 of her Wind Down Wednesday conversation. Bonnie is an executive coach, author, and international speaker with a passion for helping professional women gain the visibility and credibility they need to have a fulfilling career. Bonnie is the author of 2 books, The Politics of Promotion, How High-Achieving Women Get Ahead and Stay Ahead, and the recently published Not Done Yet, How Women Over 50 Regain Their Confidence and Claim Workplace Power. Bonnie is also the host of the podcast Badass Women at Any Age, of which our very own Jeffrey was the very first male guest.
Well, thank you for Amanda. Bonnie, welcome back to Wind Down Wednesday. What's your beverage of choice today?
Well, I, like Amanda, am drinking kombucha, but my favorite is Gingerade.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, Bonnie, let's dive in. And don't worry, guests, we're not going to be talking kombucha for the rest of the episode. But tell us a little bit about the feedback you've received from your book, Not Done Yet. What is it that's resonating with clients? How are we seeing ageism really impact the workplace? And another question is, are women's resource groups even talking about this? Yeah. That is something I would really, really love to hear about.
Okay. Well, to answer the first part of your question, how it's resonating, there's so many women in this age bracket, and I would say maybe even starting 45 to 50, who are so grateful for the book. They're grateful to bring awareness to this topic because many of them have been suffering in silence. They're experiencing the combination of gender bias and ageism. They feel they don't have a voice. They're afraid to speak up at work. And so the book is kind of acknowledging like gendered ageism is real, folks. Yeah. And what you are experiencing is real. And they're grateful for the book and for my research to really shine a light on it and let other people know that this is what they are experiencing and how difficult it is, what the impact is for women financially over the course of their careers and also in regards to job security. So I think that is primarily the feedback that I've gotten from clients. As far as employee resource groups, I'm just beginning to see that some companies are paying more attention to this. And I know that the assumption might be that it's much more focused on women, maybe particular white women, but at least a half a dozen companies have recently reached out to me that they want to build awareness in their company around the effect of gendered ageism, and they don't know really where to start. So they're identifying that this is an issue, getting it, and just opening the door crack, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Bonnie, I want to shift gears and go back to your first book, The Politics of Promotion, How High-Achieving Women Get Ahead and Stay Ahead. This has always been fascinating to me. There really is something around corporate politics, and it takes, just business people, men and women, to realize, yes, this is real. And I'm not saying people have to play politics, but you have to read the tea leaves. You have to be, smart enough to what's going on. And oh, by the way, this is an issue that we've always heard women get left out of the conversation, right? Women are over-mentored and under-sponsored. We've heard all these things. Now, given the realities of COVID and hybrid working, what suggestions or adjustments do you have to understand office politics for women and help them to kind of read the new tea leaves? Maybe when, you know what, they're not in the room, everything's virtual. I'm not seeing my boss live anymore. This is hurting me. So what are your thoughts on this today, especially given the impact of what's going on?
Right. I think that, first of all, women need to understand that even though they're not experiencing politics firsthand, it's still there. Mm-hmm. And it's important to see, have things changed? Have things shifted since we moved to a hybrid environment or since we've been working remotely? Have the power dynamics changed? Pay attention to all the relationships and who are some of the key influencers. You still need to build a web of influence for yourself and stay tuned to who would make good allies and champions and how to, create visibility for yourself. If your company's in a hybrid working environment, you need to be aware that for those people who are in the workplace, physically, they have an advantage, right? And so I think it's important for women to try to be visible and be physically in the workplace and not say, oh, it's just easy that I can stay home and do my meetings by Zoom, et cetera. And it may take a little work and practically speaking, childcare, whatever, to be able to make it. But for you to totally understand what's going on, you should try to be present. And if you can't, you should make it your intention to set up meetings with your manager on a very regular basis to be able to make sure that manager understands what you're accomplishing on your own outside of the workplace. I tell my clients to prepare a weekly status report, regardless of if you're meeting or not, just that there's written documentation of what what you're doing. So it dispels any kind of assumptions that you're not working as hard.
Yes, that's great advice. So to piggyback on that for just a second, you're an executive coach, you work with high achieving women and you help them navigate these workplace politics and, get the promotions that they really do deserve. What would be your one piece of favorite advice for a new manager?
Pay attention.
Expound on that a little bit.
Well, I think that, especially for a new manager, we're so anxious to get great results and to do good work and to be productive and to be known as a player, right? As somebody who's a great contributor, that we don't pay attention to what's going on around us. And that sets us up to be blindsided. And this certainly happened, to me in my own career. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. But pay attention to what's going on around you. Who has power and influence? What does it take to be successful in your environment, in your department, with your manager, and not to make assumptions? And what does it take to be successful for a woman? And is that different than it might be for a man? Yep. So paying attention to all the dynamics will help you keep on track, and knowing that you do need to work hard. You do need to get results, but you also need to pay attention to what's going on.
It's been great talking to you for these couple episodes. And as we wrap up, I would be really remiss if I didn't ask you about the title of your podcast, Badass Women at Any Age. I'm sure there's a story there. And I would love to hear maybe a story of advice from one of the women that you had on your podcast.
Oh, gosh. Well, first of all, how did I get that name? When I started to write my book, Not Done Yet, the original title was Badass Women at Any Age. And then I thought, oh, badass, maybe it's being overdone. But I found a quote by Katie Couric, and I'm going to read it so I don't misquote her. She defines a badass as someone who stands up for herself, is confident, and is not afraid to challenge the hierarchy, the patriarchy, or conventional thinking. And I was like, yeah, that's a badass, But it's amazing how many women come on the show and don't even acknowledge that they're a badass until they go through this interview. And then they were like, oh, yeah, I can own that. But the point of the podcast is that when we share our stories, and we share our experiences and the lessons we've learned, the challenges we've overcome, it really inspires other women to step up and own who they are and be their badass selves.
Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us today. For more information on Bonnie, her work, and books, along with her link to her podcast, check out our website at bonniemarcusleadership.com. Bonnie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for joining us for Wind Down Wednesdays, a contemporary midweek discussion on current workplace and marketplace issues with a focus on diversity, inclusion, intersectionality, and equality. I'm Amanda Hammett, and on behalf of myself and Jeffrey Tobias Halter, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for joining us for Wind Down Wednesday. If you like this episode, please subscribe to receive more episodes straight to your inbox.